To the backdrop of conflict in Ukraine, April of this year marked 40 years since the war between Argentina and the United Kingdom over islands in the South Atlantic. To Argentina, those islands always have been and will always be known as Las Malvinas. To the United Kingdom, they are the Falklands. The war ended with Argentina surrendering to British forces. Decades on, the war and the islands remain central to Argentina's collective memory.
La guerra de Malvinas duró 74 días, del 2 de abril al 14 de junio de 1982. Los ensayos de esta obra duraron un poco más. Durante varios meses, 3 veteranos ingleses y 3 argentinos trabajamos juntos en Buenos Aires y en Londres. Los ingleses no hablan español y los argentinos no hablamos inglés, pero de alguna forma nos entendimos.
The play Minefield, or Campo Minado, has been showing in Buenos Aires over recent weeks. With a cast of 6 veterans, it explores the context of how the war began, with Argentina under military rule of General Galtieri and the UK led by the Iron Lady, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. It debates what happened during the war, and it touches on the historical debate over sovereignty of the islands. But the play focuses on the life stories and experiences during and after the war of those who fought in it.
What our stories do is challenge the stereotypes that have been politically used to put a divide between the veterans and the 2 countries.
Minefield first played in Buenos Aires in 2016. It has since toured the world. Former Royal Marine David Jackson says they have received ovations wherever they have gone. The themes in Minefield strike a chord with different societies and veterans of other wars. But he says nowhere does the audience react like they do in Argentina.
For me, it's in their soul. This is not a political thing as far as I'm concerned for the country. It may be on the surface, but the Malvinas is in their soul. It's part of who they are. It's not in England. It's just another war, yeah? And actually when we did UK, another war that people didn't know about, young people didn't know about, which is quite sad, you know, because young men sacrifice their lives.
Marcelo Vallejo, on the left, says he and his fellow Argentine veterans battled with the emotional scars for years.
Cambió muchísimo. Me dio más tranquilidad el haberme, no sé si amigado con el enemigo sería la palabra, pero o entenderlo. Mis recuerdos están siempre ahí, a veces más tranquilos y a veces, bueno, aparecen porque no es un recuerdo, es algo que lo siento en el cuerpo.
As they perform another season of the play coinciding with the 40th anniversary, he says part of the war is always with him.
Lo que nunca cambia es la vivencia, esa vivencia del miedo, de la alerta, que queda en el cuerpo. Por ahí alguna reacción o una tristeza, eso nunca cambia.
In this scene, Vallejo tells David Jackson about how he struggled with drug addiction and to find work in the years after the war.
En esa época no teníamos pensión, ayuda médica ni asistencia psicológica. En esos años se suicidaron muchos veteranos.
Vallejo is now a champion triathlete. Earlier this year, he and his fellow actor David Jackson participated in a triathlon. Jackson is now a psychologist, an academic and a writer. He says he dreams about the war every time he returns to Argentina. In Minefield, he recounts his visit back to the islands 25 years after the war.
As I walked around, I found bomb crater after bomb crater.
I can't remember the jets dropping bombs. I guess I could have died that day. When a bomb falls and hits the ground, it burns. Nothing grows in those craters. The Falkland Islands is a living museum of the war.
In 2018, America's now travelled to the islands. We found cannons left to rust in what were once battlefields, memorials to those who died, veterans returning in search of something or someone they lost. It is a living museum. In recent years, through the work of the Red Cross, the UK and Argentina have worked together to identify the unknown soldiers buried in the Argentine cemetery on the islands. There were victims on both sides, 649 Argentine, 255 British. Yet to Argentina, the war is still etched on the national conscience. Argentina's Malvinas Museum is not a war museum. It is about the islands from an Argentine perspective. Its director is the war veteran, former journalist Edgardo Esteban. He wrote the book that was dramatized to the film Iluminados por el Fuego, Blessed by Fire.
Hubo 10 años donde los propios excombatientes estábamos como escondidos, olvidados, hubo mucho silencio, hubo mucha muerte, muchos suicidios como consecuencia de ese silencio. El tiempo cambia las cosas y de alguna forma cicatriza esas heridas. Está mi propia guerra interior, quizás un poquito, pero la guerra quedó atrás. Y me refugio apostando por la esperanza, apostando por la vida y creyendo que lo que viene tiene que ser mejor. Ojalá lo pueda ver antes que muera, que flamee la bandera celeste y blanca de nuestras Islas Malvinas, ¿no?
The UK government stands by the result of the 2013 referendum, when 99% voted to remain a British territory. The islanders form a tight-knit community of barely a few thousand. Their collective memory is shaped by what they call Argentina's invasion of the islands in 1982. Yet Argentina urges the UK to adhere to the United Nations resolution from 1965 and sit down to negotiate sovereignty.
Estamos a 40 años del conflicto bélico. Creo que hay muy pocas cosas que tenga tanta cercanía con el pueblo como parte de su identidad. Sin duda que es el rescate de lo colectivo, una sociedad que tiene tanta complejidad, tantas diferencias, tantas grietas, tantas internas. Malvinas para el colectivo es una sensación de pertenencia.
Malvinas es la causa que reúne a todos los argentinos sin distinción ni de clase social, ni de partido político. Creo que es una causa que nos une a todos, que a 40 años vemos muy lejos de solucionar el problema.
Silvia Barrera is one of the few women who served in Argentina's military in the war.
Soy agente civil y hace 42 años que trabajo acá en el hospital. Al venir de familia militar uno está siempre en este medio, ¿no? Con amigos del medio militar. Cuando ingresé a trabajar acá, ya siendo de sanidad, fue casi una cosa natural ofrecernos como voluntaria.
Barrera was drafted in to help on Argentina's hospital ship, the Ara Irizar.
Se armó una rutina, los ingleses bombardeaban de noche. Durante el día se traían los heridos al Irizar. El día 13 a la noche el comandante avisó por altoparlante que se iba a firmar el cese de las hostilidades. Esa noche también hubo un tiroteo, ambos países rompieron las reglas. Nosotros escuchábamos todo desde adentro mientras estábamos haciendo la cirugía.
Like the male veterans, Barrera found herself shunned by society when she returned. She was one of just 16 women formally recognized by Argentina to have participated in the war.
En Buenos Aires ya todo el mundo se había olvidado de Malvinas, habíamos perdido la guerra y éramos los culpables. Malvinas se fue diluyendo también por parte del periodismo y de los distintos gobiernos, hasta que 10 años después cada uno de nosotros creo que tomó la bandera de contar la historia, y entonces eso hizo que 10, 15 años después empecemos a hablar y a contar nuestra historia, y que ahora se sepa, ¿no? A 40 años creo que este año es como un estallido de saber de Malvinas, de tomar conciencia que hubo una guerra. Creo que la guerra de Ucrania hace que esté esto más vigente.
Sukrim Rai was one of the Gurkhas to serve in the British military in the war. He is part of the cast of Minefield and sees the subject of the play relevant to this day.
For new generation, what is I'm giving the message? In the world, everything has been changed. Why you are not changing? Always fighting with the bullet. Fight on the table with the pen. Don't fight with the bullet. If the fight with the pen, that's the result come one win, one lose. But nobody kill, nobody die.
The stories of veterans keep the experience of a war fought 4 decades ago alive for young generations. And for Argentina, sovereignty of the islands remains a national cause.